All right, we're starting up. Brian Jenkins deals with more customers and more races and more interactions, probably than anybody in this room by a factor of multiple. He really knows the system. He really knows what you all do and how you do it and stuff like that. And he is going to share his quick tips.
All right, can everybody hear me okay in the back? Can I get a thumbs up in the back? Great, thank you. All right, so this presentation is the best presentation because it's about nothing and everything at the same time, and I don't have to follow any particular order or rules. So we're going to go through a bunch of different things. So there's a couple of rules here. Number one, absolutely no questions, period, never. We'll take them at the end. The next rule is that we're going to go really, really fast. Some of this stuff is kind of follow up for you guys. Some of it's brand new. The best part about this presentation is that we do make it a blog post. So just make sure you take notes on the particular things that you're interested in. And then you can check out, we'll actually share the slides. Not only the slides, we also have a blog post associated with it. So if you want to drill into it, or if you talk to a RunSignup person, just make sure you take a couple notes on the particular things that you're interested in. All right, so we're going to go over your profile and dashboards, registration reporting, websites, marketing, fundraising, and our race day tools. So your profile and your dashboard. Before we do that, I have one thing I want to share with you guys. So we're getting bigger, as you guys might have noticed. Several people have mentioned to me, they're like, hey, who are all these people? I'm like, I don't know. They just work here. I've never met them. I don't even know who he is. He's Canadian. The first thing is that as we're getting bigger and bigger, I'm going to tell you guys a joke, but you're going to get a message back from me at one point, and you're going to realize I'm not kidding. I'm officially starting a PayPal account for weekends and night supports for me. It's called the Pony Fund. So if you guys want me to answer your emails at nights and weekends, I'll reply back with a link to my PayPal account and say, please fund the Pony Fund. I have a 4-year-old, so next year, if you see a picture of a pony, you guys have screwed up, and she gets a pony. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a 501c3. The first thing is on our My Races. So we have a UX team around here. They're doing a great job. We all hate change. I think we can all agree that. They do the best they can to try to continue to update things to work and to look in a way that we all can understand and usability. They do really take you guys' feedback seriously. So if you have particular things that you're struggling with, share that with them. The My Races page is kind of one of the many spots that they've updated. So the most important thing on here is I love the up and down arrows. We want more ups and downs, but it looks like Race A is not doing so hot. The dashboard and dashboard search. So we've got two different items here. If you forget every single thing that I say, only pay attention to this, and you will be just fine. Top left-hand corner of every single race, search. I think everybody's here that was here last year remembers that because they told me that, so that's good. We got, retention. The top right-hand side, this is your quick search. So you can search by a bunch of different functions, primarily name, bid, or email. That's the one that puts up there. That's a really quick way to find someone. So you're on the phone with someone or you're trying to research someone. I love the emails that say my t-shirt is wrong. That's all they say. So you can then plug in their email, pull up who they are, and say, oh yeah, your youth small doesn't seem quite right. Year-over-year comparisons. So this one is kind of a sore tooth. We were discussing this yesterday. None of us can agree what the difference between year-over-year, year-to-date, or any of those things are. So if you guys have any great ideas on what that is, let us know. We'll change it again and make it all confusing for everybody. Race insights. So this is, simply put, this is Google Analytics for the lay person. We, in the past, implemented Google Analytics. It didn't work the way we wanted, so we actually built our own analytics tool. You can thank Matt Mo in the back corner back there. Thanks, Matt Mo. It's an amazing tool. I show this to people all the time, and they're like, I had no idea that they could do this. So when you get into your dashboard, below there, you can kind of see the arrows there where it says referral or email. If you click on that, it starts giving you intelligence on where your traffic and registrations are coming from. And so there's another one we're going to go over a little bit later where it says custom. If you use some of our custom source URLs, so if you did a Facebook post or include it in an email, it'll actually give you intelligence on how that particular link performs. So what I recommend is definitely start clicking in here and just familiarize yourself with it. You don't need to go crazy with it. It's just like, hey, wow, why am I getting so many registrations From Yahoo. Well, I don't know. Registration and reporting. So one of the questions that I quite often get is, can I bring over old data? Yes, if you can work hard. So if you go into the participant section, which many of us go into, and there's an import, you can type in entries. Well, one of the things that we built is the ability, if you click on a little drop-down for the events that you have available, so if you've been using this for years, you can see that. There's also the ability to create past events. So if you create the past events, you can bring the old data over. The value that it has is quite a bit. So you can autofill your email lists. You can start populating information when you're doing like t-shirt reporting and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to doing that. Again, if you want to feed my pony fund, I'm happy to for a fee, start populating your data.
You would not do it now.
No, I would outsource people. So this one is our miscellaneous settings. Probably the most important thing in the miscellaneous settings is the ability to change the word from race. So this is one of the things that kind of is a sore point for some people. Jane's smiling because it's one of her sore points. So if we understand you have bike or triathlon or events or various different wording that you want to use. You don't prefer the word race; it doesn't kind of match up with you. But you do have the ability to change that.
When you bring in pathway data, can you bring in the data registration that can be tracked from another registration system?
The question is, can you bring data registration when you import data? Yes. There's a checkbox for that. When you're going in there to import data, there's a checkbox that says, do you want to bring over registration date? And if you bring over registration date, the year-over-year comparison will then work. This is, one of those serendipity things. I didn't know about the private event code. Allison put it in the presentation. I learned how to use it this morning. Somebody emailed me this morning saying the registration was broken. Turns out they had put a private event code on. Turns out, in order for a private event code to work, you actually have to append the private event code onto your URL. I had no idea that you do that. I learned that this morning. So probably the coolest thing about that is if you're doing an event, you can then share. You can have the event public, but then share a URL that people have to use to register. So I really like that. So conditional custom questions. So this is going to be for your more complicated registrations, not necessarily large race, small race. It's just you're trying to collect specific pieces of data depending upon what the first question was asked. So you could ask a question like, are you a runner or are you a walker? And if you're a runner, you might ask some pace or something like that. So it's the conditional question. It's not used a ton, but there is quite a number of specialty type events that want to ask custom questions. Alternatively to this, most of the time when you're setting up custom questions, we have a real simple, more logical filter, which is just events. So you might ask a set of questions for the marathon versus the half marathon versus the kids race. So that you don't even have to do conditional questions for that. You can just check the events that you want to apply to. So event level confirmation emails. So this is super helpful when you start getting into events that might be, we work with some events that might have separate start lines, or they might be a 2-day festival or something like that. And so you might want to use the event level confirmation emails to share with them different information. So it's not something that's used really commonly, but if you're going to have a general confirmation email still, but then you're going to have a block specifically for that particular event. So the financial summary, this is one of the options that isn't used enough. We get a lot of questions about financials, and almost all the time when we start helping people dig into it, they get the information that they're interested in. So when you click on financial and then the summary, there's some different options, including summaries that typically are pretty adequate. Of course, we do have detailed reporting, but if you drill into here, there's some really interesting stuff that you can click on. My favorite thing to do is actually to click on transactions. If you click on transactions and you scroll to the bottom, there's an event summary option. And what it does, your race is settled, meaning all the transactions are done. You can then kind of get, and it's not a detailed, I would say to the penny accounting report, but it's like, hey, how much money did I make in the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon? Again, I would go back to our true financial reports to get that information, but if you're trying to do something quick, with a partner or something like that, how's it looking? It's beautiful. So again, click on transactions, scroll to the bottom of the page. It's one of the best financial reports we have. So volunteers. I have a little bonus in here. Is Natalie in here? No, not in here. Not too bad. I stole hers. So, oh well. So the volunteer system, you can set up time slots. This is super helpful as you get more and more complicated volunteers. You can set up, some people call them shifts. That's another way to call it. So you need 4 people from 8 to 10, 6 people from 10 to 12, and things like that. It lets you know how many volunteers are needed. And so one of the tips that we have, and this is going to, be a really good one for you guys that came, is that we have some races that have had success with recruiting volunteers using Meetup. So the website Meetup. And so each major city has a Meetup groups, and you can potentially then interact with volunteer groups that are looking for hours. A lot of times then you can, they're like, hey, at my school or with my organization, we need to get 10 hours. So you can get some people that really do need volunteer work and try to use that as a recruiting tool, and we've seen some success with that. So the CRM, this is something else that I actually played with last week and learned something new. So the CRM was something big last year. I'm going to define what CRM meant because several people came to me afterwards and said they don't know what it means. So CRM is customer relationship management. Simply put, it is right now a decent amount of intelligence on your customer. And so what you can do in the CRM now is create a list. In that list, one of the things we just added, and I started playing with it last week because I had a customer that asked about it, is you can build a list and you start in a particular race, but then you can say, hey, I want to add another race and add another race. And so you can build a particular list of, say, 4 or 5 of your races with a gender filter, with a zip code filter. And now, boom, I've got a custom list of my 5 races with the parameters that I wanted. And some people are using this specifically for marketing because that's what we're pushing is. I like to make a lot of money, so participants give us some money, but we all know the big money comes from sponsors. Sponsors want that level of intelligence, and I think races sometimes struggle with giving them okay, how many women between the ages of 18 and 70 are attending all of your races, right? That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Our CRM can allow you to do that and build a list. Now, I would suggest giving them a highlight of that. I would not necessarily share that information with them. But if you can give them a kind of intelligence, while you're on the phone with them, they're gonna be like, how do you do that? And you can do this very quickly. One of the other cool things that we just added for those of you that are using MailChimp, you can build a list and push it over to MailChimp as well. So that's something else that's relatively new. So race websites. This is really something that we made a push over the past couple months, and some of you have embraced it and given us a lot of great feedback, and we plan to continue to add functionality to this. So don't think that we're stopped on it. The cover page is which we just did. Who ended up winning the cover page? Burnside? Burnside. Yeah, Burnside Mile won that one. So the best part about the website is that your brand comes with it. So if you own a domain for your race, you don't have to worry hey, I've got to use runsignup.com blah. You can now bring that domain over. It's relatively simple to do. We've got instructions on GoDaddy, Google Sites, and do we do network solutions as well? No. So if you use any of the major ones, but GoDaddy powers a lot of even the other ones that you think aren't necessarily GoDaddy. It's a pretty quick thing. Just so that I can mess up Ryan's day. Ryan's sitting out there, so if you have a domain, you need it mapped, he'll smile and help you get your domain mapped. You didn't think I was going to do that, but I was. So cover pages, this is going to be what changes your thoughts on race websites, because many of you guys come to us and say, hey, I just need a different theme and a different template. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. And the reason is that it's just too hard, right? People oversimplify what a website is. The number one thing that a website should be is fast and easy to navigate. And I can tell you, I've been on a lot of your guys' websites. Not all of them are fast. And so, read the studies on Amazon and how they pay attention to the microseconds for transactions. If you think it doesn't matter, it absolutely matters. So the cover pages, the number one thing that we're going to be bringing to the table is going to be dynamic data elements. And so the dynamic data elements create a viral kind of activity that it's hard to do without kind of having data-fed website. What I mean, very simply put, is we all do various forms of either referrals or teams or fundraising, some sort of competition. Typically if we can, we want to pull that off. But the hardest part is that if we start a competition and we can't dynamically show who's winning or who's moving up the leaderboard and on an ongoing basis, you start to lose the power or the thought behind that. So over time, you're going to see the ability to plug in your cover page, the top fundraisers, the top teams. And so as soon as I create a team and get 4 people to sign up, I might move up that list. So it's very validating to me to say, hey, I want to keep calling my friends because I want to move up the list further. So you definitely pay attention to this, even if it's not where you want to be yet. There is a lot coming to try to drive you guys to move this. And this isn't because we're not trying to make money off of this per se by selling it to you. We believe that if your site is faster, more optimized, using some of the best practices that we have, likely you're going to get more registrations, which therefore means we make more money. So our interests are aligned with you. The event display options, this is something that's kind of, over time, maybe kind of got lost in the wash, so I like bringing this one back up. The event display options, you'll notice the little options at the top, so you probably can't see it in the back, but it says prizes awarded, walking courses and runners and walkers free. The idea behind this is you're putting a little banner or potentially images and different things to call to action to try to get someone to do something. So it's like a little card with a call to action. So this is a great way to highlight. We've seen people that will do this with like VIP packages or things like that, so you can kind of call them out. The other one that I like is strike-through pricing. So that's something that some people really enjoy, striking out the price. So our larger races have very much embraced this because they can't kind of support the volume of emails that they're going through. And so what they're doing is that our info ad team, was great, has been going through and updating all of our help documentation. So this is all pretty fresh. And so what we recommend is, when you look at the emails that you're getting internally, and like kind of, we all see patterns, right? You get the same, types of questions. See what type of documentation that we have to help support you so that you have something to reference with your participants. One of the other things that I've been thinking about we could potentially show you guys is that there's a function in Gmail and I think a lot of people are Gmail shoppers at this point, where you can kind of hit a little button in your email and you can have like kind of saved emails. So you can then reference like a save, like here's how you update your t-shirt, here's how you transfer to a friend, or whatever your common questions are, so that you can kind of fire out emails. That's how our info ad team operates a lot. The majority of our emails are canned responses. So if you think that they've like carefully responded to your email, they really click 3 things and went back to sleep. Especially not. So of course, everyone wants to know how to market and grow their race. And we talk about this a lot because you guys ask about it a lot. One of our things, and this is a kind of a marketing term, we call it drip campaigns. Drip campaigns are basically kind of automated scheduled emails. And we have that built into our system now. So if you go into the email marketing system, there's that automated emails. You'll see a selection of them. If you're not doing it, I want to remind you, turn on incomplete registration emails. You can turn them on, but like we default 3 days later. If you want to turn it on to 1 day later, and then add another one a few days later. The idea is it says, hey, sorry, we missed you. Come back and finish registering. They click on the link, and hopefully they come back and register. Absolutely do that one. Drip campaigns, they can be used in a multitude of different ways. If you're a fundraising race, you can then remind people about their fundraising goal and drop in their fundraising link and say, please support us. If you're a race that's trying to, get a referral program off the ground, you can drop in their referral URL and remind them about that. Also include images, like we've been pushing kind of more gear, things like gear, like actual giving people like shirts or hats or whatever kind of goodies you want to give them. Seems to drive people more than saying, hey, if you get, 5 people, we'll give you $25. You can put images into your confirmation email or into this drip email that says, hey, you will get X if you refer X number of people. And the best part about this is that you do it once, you schedule all this stuff, and you're done. You don't have to now you might tweak it because you're not getting the response that you like, or you might get it confusing, so you might change it. But again, the idea behind this is do this in the wintertime when you're out of business. Now, in Florida, they're going to say you're really busy, but you get the idea. So this one is my personal pet peeve. So I have tons of people that tell me, oh, your email system could be better. We had a lot of people share that with us yesterday. So I tell people the way that I look at things is I see the forest. Some people just see the trees, some people just see the leaves. I'm looking at the forest, and there's a big difference between what an email looks like and whether someone gets it. No one asks me whether anyone gets it, unless there's a problem, right? Like truly, like the email system, secret attack. Believe it or not, it's really important that people get your emails. That's the lesson of the day. And why am I being so specific about this? Bob said yesterday, we sent out 17 million emails. You guys are busy. That's a lot of emails. Last month we sent 17 million emails. That's a lot of emails. So guess what? There's becoming a problem. You guys are sending too many emails. Not to say that we can't handle it. It's that we are in an environment that the email systems, specifically like Gmail or our personal favorite AOL. Yeah, if you email us from AOL, we chuckle. So what's happening is that we all know about the scams that are going on and the volume of email, and we've all noticed too. Like you paid attention that if you had an email account in 2008, how many emails you got that were junk was incredible. Versus today, it's actually quite a bit better. And that's just they're just not even getting to it. So you really, absolutely, if you're going to send out, I don't know what the threshold I would say is, if it's a list of over 5,000 people, I'll just pick a number out of that. You absolutely need to do it. It's more important than what your email looks like, because your email, that other thing I remind you about what email looks like, if you're looking at your email, you're probably only looking at the email on your desktop or on your phone. But you're not checking it on Apple Mail and Google and Outlook and there's hundreds of different applications that are going to open email. They're all going to look different. So insulating emails when 70% of people are opening emails, not as important as you might think. Getting it to people, super important. So if you're struggling with white label, this is something we got documentation on, but you have to go into what's called your DNS, which is your domain name server, and add a record so that we can actually send emails from your domain. What that means is that we are not, when we send it right now, if you don't do this, we're pretending to be you. If we do this, we are actually you. There's a big difference in terms of deliverability as you continue to send a higher volume of emails. Move a little bit over so that you're always okay. So MailChimp, we have an integration with MailChimp. It's pretty simple to set up. So you'll build a list, and then you'll select the list, and you have to set up a MailChimp account first. It will not work until you set up the MailChimp account. You'll connect the MailChimp account, and then you'll select the list and map it. This has been great for some of the people that use it. We have had requests for additionals. Bob, what is your thought on additional email systems at this point?
No way.
All right. At least I didn't have to say no once. So this is what we're going back to. Just the previous one is we get a lot of requests for additional templates and things like that. We do the best that we can because what you guys don't necessarily know is that we're building everything you see from the email system. There's absolutely nothing that is being provided by our email sender. We're building all of it. So that's why it's a little slower. Just so you guys know, MailChimp makes $100 million a year. I could get you an email system for $100 million a year, just saying. After the pony. The most important thing to know about this particular slide is that this is tedious, but you can, if you were to hire someone to build kind of your brand of emails, there's a little, it's little gator. Look for the gator, click on gator, drop in your code, done. And now your email looks exactly the way you want. And again, there is going to be some variance between browsers and different email systems, but if you build it, you can actually build that and make it a theme, a template within your email system so you can carry that forward. And so if you're a partner, you can also do that at the partner level. So Swagger Rewards, I hinted at this a little bit earlier. So the best part about Swagger Rewards is that many of you guys are extremely creative, and I think sometimes you guys are a little gun-shy with your creativity. I see some really cool t-shirts and things like that. The Swagger Rewards is your opportunity to pull your creativity hat back on and think about what's interesting, what would get people to come to your race, why they enjoy running, and go back to the kind of basics so you can kind of see some of the different options that we have here. If you guys are yourselves an apparel provider, where you actually, many of the people in the room, have some either direct association or an indirect association with apparel, really think about what is kind of neat, and you can change this seasonally. That's the best part about it. It's like with cash is always cash. But what we seem to find is that if we put money back on someone's card, it just doesn't seem to have the same impact as potentially giving something to someone. One of the other things that we talked a lot about the referral rewards program previously I've encouraged as many races as possible to start having a reward ceremony for your top referrals, like your top 3 or something like that. Now, obviously, if you only get like 1 or 2 referrals, it's probably not worth doing. But I've had races where there was, 12 and 13 referrals for the top, 2 or 3 people, and those people are true influencers. And I promise you, they did more for your race than the person that ran. Brian Flint was in the room. You don't need somebody running 15 minutes for the 5K. You need someone that's a connector. You need someone that will bring people to your race, and recognizing those people is super important. Most of us came from the competitive background and saying like, who's the fastest, is the most important. But like as you get slower, as most of us have, you realize like, well, I'm not going to win anymore. So why should I come, right? And so the swag rewards is another way to kind of engage with those people and recognize them. Facebook custom audiences. So one of the things that RunSignup has done under the promotion tab is we auto-build Facebook custom audiences. We're going to dig into this a little bit more on our marketing panel. So the most important thing for you to know is that we pre-build these lists for you. So if you already know what this is, but you didn't know that we have it, you can just go in and grab different filtered lists, like a lifetime list, or people who have registered last year but not this year, and things like that, and grab them. It automatically puts them in a format that you can plug into Facebook so that you can do custom ads to a targeted audience. So again, if this is something that really perks your interest, make sure you come to our marketing discussions. Custom source tracking. So this is the easiest way to call someone out. If they say, hey, I'm your biggest marketer, give them a custom source URL. You'll find out exactly how big an impact they have. So when you go into the promotion source tracking, you can go in and add a custom source URL. And what's neat about it is you can say, like what kind of value that you're going to attribute to it. So in this case, we're showing like a Facebook ad. Race Day Events, which is in the back, they shared with us that there's a little delta between what RunSignup reports in the source code, meaning like if you plug in the ad, our source URL, and then what Facebook's going to report, there's a delta between them. So it kind of gives you an idea, like Facebook's going to over-report, we're probably going to under-report, and somewhere in between there. So you can really get a better idea of how the ad is performing. Now this also can work, like if you're partnering with a gym and the gym's going to send an email out to their 1,000 members or things like that, you can then send that custom link so that again, in your dashboard, it's going to feed in how that ad is performing. So this is another one of Natalie's tricks. This one is not free. So far, everything I've told you is free, except for the phone. This is called EVVNT. What this is, and I've had people ask me this, but not in this direct way, is the ability to aggregate your event list. I'm not sure if this is appropriate for everyone in the room. So EVVNT is going to help you, like wherever all of us live, there's like family magazines and like local calendars and things like that. And it's like a whack-a-mole game to try to hit them all. Like you could hire an intern to try to help you to get distributed on there, but you can't hit them all. And so EVVNT has helped kind of create partnerships with thousands of calendars, and you pay a fee to get your event listed on like a ton of calendars. So if your event is more on the entertainment side, I think it could be effective. I'm hesitant to recommend it on the competitive side. Not to say that it couldn't, but like I'm staring at Greg right now, so like I'm not so sure how many people want to go to the Richmond Family Magazine and sign up for a half iron, but I don't know, maybe. I haven't seen anybody do a half iron with a wagon yet, but there's always somebody. Fundraising and donations. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this in our next presentation, but many of you probably know this is our fastest growing sector in our business. So we're growing at about twice the rate with donations as we are with the general races. And that's primarily because many of you guys have, we appreciate you bringing those correct opportunities to us. So races are saying, hey, we're a fundraising event, we're really struggling with blah, blah, blah. Come take a look at RunSignup. We show them what we have. They're super excited about it. This one, for anyone that is in the nonprofit space, should make you drool. This is truly amazing. There's a funny story behind it. We'll tell you at some point. So Facebook fundraising. So if you are a nonprofit that is in the Facebook network, you have the ability now through our platform to connect your fundraising page with Facebook. So what that means is that when someone gets into the fundraising step, we not only have the ability to generate a RunSignup or GiveSignup URL, we also have the ability to generate a Facebook page for them. So we've done a test with the Zipper5 fund, and it's been extremely successful. Facebook has been satisfied with our attentiveness of it. Zipper5 has been extremely happy with the engagement on it. This is going to be the new tool in your toolbox, and I can tell you this. This is going to be a gold rush, and you guys are the first people to get access to it. There's really just, there's only one other company that has access to it, and you have to pay for it. So when we get to this, and you're really in the nonprofit space, or you have customers that are, this is a great opportunity. Oh, Allison, sorry, skipping one. I had to skip one. So this one, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, and Courtney from the 9/11 Foundation shared that this was extremely effective for this, so I want to spend a little bit more time on this. We have now added the ability to kind of, at checkout, have, not only you can still have your donation stuff, but you can have a simple checkbox that is in the line with the checkout process where someone can, you have a pre-made amount to just check the box and add an amount to your cart. So this is kind of like the whole idea of like, and we've probably all seen it, like, would you like to add $1 when we're at the grocery store or something like that to support it? It's the same concept. And so it's, for you guys, you need to know your audience. Is it appropriate to ask for $5, $1? In this case, they're asking for 10. Make sure you know your audience on that, but it's a quick and easy way for someone to check out and add an option. Yeah, so Courtney shared, and this is very odd. Courtney said that people gave $25 and checked the box for 10. So maybe you should have had a $35 option. No, but it was very, it's very interesting that she was actually seeing people who had already donated and checked the box, which made me scratch my head a little bit because that wasn't necessarily what we were going for, but more money for them. Donation discounts, this is kind of interesting. We don't have a ton of people using this, but basically you can set a donation amount that automatically discounts the entry. So it's kind of like an auto-applied coupon. So if you've not played with that, this would be more appropriate on like high dollar events, I think. We see a lot of success with things like this with, for whatever reason, rides. They're not like race rides, they're just, hey, I want to go ride 50 miles or something like that. It seems to be very successful.
You said that as an offset, so the registration fee is lower. They commit to raise the dollar fee. They get basically, so they have an option. Pay $75 to enter, or pay $25 to enter and raise 100.
Yeah, you'd have to have two separate events. So she's asking if you could have an option for kind of like a lower entry fee if you commit to a fundraising goal. We do have events that like kind of have that together, and we also can do fundraising refunds. So you could kind of eliminate what you're saying, but just say, hey, if you hit 100, we're going to refund 50 or something like that. Yeah.
And then hold the money, automatically charge if they don't get the commitment on that.
We do not auto charge. And that's
not automatically, though.
We can provide a report of people that didn't hit their goal, and then you can kind of hit them and say, hey, would you like to square up with us? So race day, we have a tremendous race day team. We're happy to see Matt Avery made it today. Hey, Matt.
It's going to keep going.
So if you haven't talked to Matt Avery or James Harris, be careful. They'll blow your mind. They have a lot to share. So we talked a little bit about this earlier in the automated email, so I'm going to kind of jump through this. But the most important thing is if you're digging into our check-in app more and more, if you schedule a pre-race email, you can plug in dynamically our QR code. So more and more people are starting to play with the QR code for check-in because it drastically speeds up the check-in process. So when you're building out that email of the who, what, when, where, what to watch out for, where to park, all that good stuff that none of the participants read, including us, right? But you can plug in that giant QR code, and if you have messaging at the race, say pull up that email we just sent out. It's also in the original confirmation email. You can then very quickly start scanning. I was shared at one point that one person checked in 500 people in 90 minutes. But they were all focused on the QR code. So it's kind of it's a good tool to play with. So we are also digging pretty hard into, we get a lot of complaints about the sign-up app, and I kind of roll my eyes because, 50% of them are free. 50% of your participants are free, you probably do the same thing. But we are playing with some really cool new tools. We have this option called Private Expo Mode. Basically, our issue with the sign-up app is that we're having to rebuild our entire registration platform into a completely different application. So we're trying to avoid doing that because that means that we're not making positive traction forward on other things. So Private Expo Mode and our fast registration, which I'm going to show as well, the combination of these things allow you to customize the registration process and eliminate pieces that you don't need, but still use our primary platform. So if you're really into this, we have a race day session that's going to be going on later today. We can dig into it a little bit more. We also this year have a demo. So if you want to play with things, I think it's upstairs. It's upstairs, and it's kind of you'll see it. We've got a bunch of different things in there. So if that's something that's really interesting to you, you hit the demo room up and spend a little time with it. So fast registration, as I mentioned, this is something that you can do by a bunch of different options. My primary recommendation is to do it by date range. So you can say, hey, Friday at noon, I want to cut the registration process down. Like, I don't want to ask our extra custom questions, and I don't necessarily need, street address. I just care about zip code, things like that. So you can really tighten it up so that it's a fast and easy registration process. So that also allows you, by doing this, to leave open team registration and things like that. Like, that is something that is really painful to build into our sign-up app, for example. For example, you can still, if you're signing up at 4 o'clock on Friday and you use this option, let's say you have a team competition, you can still have the team competition rolling because it's just beating the database. You're good to go. So this is something that's in the check-in app that we wanted to call out. And again, this is something you can play in the demo room. You can have it so it automatically shows the camera on the bib assignment. And so, and some people I've seen even set up lines that specifically say, you have to have your QR code. So that person's never leaving that mode. They're just scanning. So they're scanning the confirmation email or the race email, then they're scanning the bottom of the bib. And that could be a barcode or a QR code. And so they've looked them up and they've assigned the bib. And we didn't fat finger the bib assignment. We all know that's going to happen, right? So this is a way to eliminate that. So I've gotten through, I only skipped one. That is pretty good. All right, so I just threw in entirely too much information at you. What questions do we have? All right, I crushed the room. Perfect. No one can.
Question in the back corner.
All right.
On your white label screen, email marketing, manage settings, you have a big arrow pointing to a little checkbox, and I know that.
Big arrow, little checkbox.
The white label marketing.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going backwards. How far back do I need to go?
There.
What's that arrow pointing to, please?
I'm able to add DNS records for this domain. So what that means is that, are you actually a person, so in order to be able to do this for white label, you have to have access to the domain. If you are not someone that has access to the domain, you cannot do it. You have to work with the person that does it.
Domain means
Yeah, so domain is if you bought it from GoDaddy or wherever you bought it from, you have to have the ability to go in and manipulate that. And so I'll just remind you, you cannot white label Gmail or Yahoo. So if you've been kind of cheaping out on not buying, a domain or email service, this is not a problem that's going to get better. It's going to get far worse. Because Gmail in particular is putting intelligence into the inbox now to protect us, right? So if you start thinking in that manner, you start to realize why emails are not getting to people. Around here, Comcast is super popular. Comcast does not want to have their customers get scammed, by somebody, so they're filtering those emails.
Right, isn't it the MX setting, not the DNS setting?
Yeah, but you're going into your DNS to add a mail record, which is an MX record.
Same thing when it comes to that arrow pointing to a little box. It was for the finding out where the people were signing up for the race from, wasn't from Facebook or another source. But there's that little box there.
Those You're talking about this one.
Yeah.
So the arrows, the purple arrow is, that's how you can change the information on the dashboard. So the first one, and these are really hard to read, so I'll read them. There's overview, transactions, promotion, demographics, and registrations. At the bottom are your sources, so that's registrations, email, and then remember I talked about the custom URL, where you can do the custom marketing. And then the other one, which is kind of neat, is the orange arrow, is if you click on that, you can actually edit what fields are in there. So if you prefer donations, which is a pink color, to be in there, and you don't really care about traffic per se, you can change things up within there. The other thing you can do is you can actually add cards to your dashboard. So cards are like how many referrals you have, coupons, etc. You can actually customize your dashboard. So your dashboard could be different than mine, even though we're both race directors.
The referral program, when you're using Swag, how does that track?
Yeah, so the question's about referrals and tracking. So we generate a custom URL for every single registration. And so when that person shares it, as well as when you send, like if you were to use the automated email to follow up with them, it's a custom URL and it has a cookie on it. So if they click on it, we're tracking that person. And so at that point, if they register on that browser within a certain period of time, we automatically attribute it to that registry. So you really don't have to do anything beyond, kind of encourage people to share the URL.
Sure, but what I mean is, let's say you look for 5 registrations, you get a half. How do I now know who gets a half?
Her question is, how do I know how to give the people the hats that win? Got it. We have a referral report that shows you the status. You can filter by number of page views, number of signups, and things like that, so you can see how people are doing. You also can actually plug in to your RunSignup site a list of the top referrals. Well, referrers, which is a terrible word. But it actually you can show a competition that's like to the public as well. So there's a report, and you can do like a little card on the page.
Is it something that you can put into the label building thing, the labels?
That's a good question. I don't know.
There was a question.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the first thing is with labels, hit the question mark. That's the tip of the day. If you hit question mark, it'll pull anything up in there. That will tell you what's available. So, if you hit question, it'll drop down every single thing. Yeah. We got one more.
You had shown the slide with the QR code, and you kind of came up with specific enable you to see the pictures as well.
No, so the QR, there's...
It's on the bid.
Yeah, on the bid. So one of the things that people aren't necessarily doing very often is QR codes or barcodes on the bid. So you have to talk to your bid printer, like I think eMedia Group's here is just like one of an example of bid printers. If you have a conversation with them, they can print a barcode or a QR code at the bottom. The idea behind that is that we're all human and we all make mistakes. So if I look you up with your confirmation QR code, beep, now I know I got you. Now if I want to assign a bid, the bid has it on there, so instead of having to type the number in, beep, 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 I can just scan it, and it automatically assigns the bid. That's the power of it, is to prevent you from having to type in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the number is. All right. Thank you guys.